Okay, everybody, welcome to part 2 of Ask the King episode 45 for August 21st, 2014. If you didn't see part 1, I definitely recommend you go back and watch it because there was some really big announcements and news in there that you're going to want to check out, okay? Alright, so for part 2, we're going to jump headstrong into the forum questions. So the very first one here is from Justin, and he asks the following. He says, one thing that I always liked about you compared to other video game uploaders is your knowledge of the business world and how you relate it to gaming. Example, Ubisoft's debacle of the Rayman Legends release last year. Your passionate video on how the development team was mistreated is an eye-opening revelation on how cutthroat the gaming business world can be. Also, the marketing team's abysmally stupid decision to release the game the same week as Grand Theft Auto 5, which hurt the sales of the game. So my question for you is, a what-if scenario. If you were to be the head of a gaming company, what would you do differently? What would your overall business model be for the development and release of a game? Thanks, Phil. Here's the thing. Business, and especially the development of a product, is highly dependent upon what the product is. If you were telling me that you were going to try to make the best first-person shooter game of all time, I would say, that's great, don't release it the month Call of Duty's coming out. Because it doesn't matter how good your FPS game is, when Call of Duty's coming out, it will kill your fucking market because everyone just plays Call of Duty every year. And, you know, it's just an inevitability that you're going to have established franchises that are going to dominate certain times of the year, okay? What I would say in particular is, number one, if you're going to make a game, you're going to market a game, you have to find a unique catch to make it really stand out from the pack. I really don't feel that, for example, with Rayman Legends that they did that. What they did is they said, oh, it's the sequel to Rayman Origins. Great, but what's the unique catch? What's the feature besides it's just a sequel to a popular game? They really didn't promote anything new. And then, of course, when they announced it was a Wii U exclusive, right into the toilet because no one bought the Wii U. So really, I think you can make or break your product regardless of how good of a game it is by marketing decisions, partnership decisions like that decision of the Wii U, the decision to delay a game, when to release a game. All those things can make or break a game. Here's what I would do, and this is just super general because again, I don't know what kind of game we're talking about or whatever. I would try to make a game that has a unique feature that's different from other games, and it releases during the summer. And I know a lot of people, oh my god, but Phil, traditionally game releases during the summer, they don't come out. No major games come out during the summer. For whatever reason, game development companies, marketing companies, nothing ever comes out during the summer. It's usually a summer of indie games, summer of HD remakes, but never any new games come out during the summer. To which I say, why? The summer is the prime time when kids are at home because they're not at school. Younger adults are out of university or college or whatever for the summer as well, visiting relatives or going home with family and stuff. Traditionally, even work, even if you have a full-time job, a lot of the times during the summer would be the months when maybe the job is at a slower period. Really, traditionally, that would be the time when I would say, let's get these people who are all at home now, because now is the time that they're sitting around. And by the way, during the summer, it's hot as fuck. So you could even promote it as, oh, beat the heat, stay inside, have a staycation with this new game, right? But no one seems, everyone wants to do what's the bandwagon approach, and the bandwagon approach is, oh, release your game a couple months before Christmas because everyone buys it as a present for Christmas. I don't understand that mentality, I really don't. Now, you know, you don't know if that would really work, quite honestly. And by the way, I gotta pull this closer. I just realized that my microphone's way far away. I'm like, wait a minute. There we go. I don't know if it would work because no one's ever attempted it before. So you can't really say, you know, that would work, right? But it's at least something different. It's not the same old, same fucking old. And when you get a game like Rayman Legends, man, was that game doomed. Doomed from the fucking start to fail. Because it was a sequel to a game that was successful, but there was no real marketing made to tell you why you should buy the sequel. It was announced as a Wii U exclusive, which immediately tanked the sales of the game. Then the game was done and ready for release on the Wii U in February, and they decided they were going to delay it 7 fucking months for just the reason of making it multi-platform, because they thought it would make more sales, but then they released it the same week as Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, Does the guy who's in charge making these decisions, is this not his day job? Is this like his little hobby because he's rich and he owns a game company on the side and really he fucking whittles wood or something? Because if you know anything about video games, those are the 3 most fucking boneheaded decisions you could ever possibly fucking make. Like, anyone would have told this guy, you're an idiot, don't do it. He did it anyway, and the game sales fucking tanked, and it's pathetic because the game's great. John Rambo and I did co-op in it last year. We absolutely loved the game. I think it wasn't as good as the first. It was close, though, and that's unfortunate to see a game that really has massive potential, actually is a great game, go ignored because the fucking management of the company are massive assholes. Uninformed, complete douchebag morons. Oh, I'm still, as you can tell, I'm still pissed about the situation. Alright, okay. Next question. Hello there, Philip. Have you ever considered starting a movie review channel or just doing movie reviews on your King of Hate Vlogs channel? A simple 5-minute review would be interesting, don't you think? And that is from Troll. That's kind of funny because his name is Troll, yet that was probably an incredibly legitimate question. From time to time over the years, I've been asked similar questions because if you guys remember, way back when, I actually did do a couple movie reviews. I did one of Inception, and I did one of Iron Man 2, both of which I had gone to see in a movie theater, and then I came home and immediately did a video review. Now, here's the thing. I never do real things like that, reviews like that, and it's quite simple why. Because YouTube, in the past, I don't know about today, but in the past has been incredibly asshole-ish when it comes to movie clips. If you just put a movie clip in a video, a lot of the times YouTube will flag it for copyright, and now your video is gone from YouTube, okay? And you get a copyright strike. So those 2 reviews that I did do in the past, they were only me talking with maybe a little picture like the logo of the movie or the splash art from the advertisement of the movie, and me talking about the movie for 5 to 10 minutes, okay? People have asked me, am I ever going to do that again? And I've said, quite honestly, the reason I never brought it back was because I don't go to the movies. The movies have become incredibly expensive. Just think about it. Right now, to go to a standard movie, it's probably anywhere from $12 to $15 just for the ticket. Probably $18 to $20 if it's a 3D movie. Oh, I'm thirsty. Oh, $7 soda. You know what I mean? So you end up going and spending, especially if it's me and Leanna, 50, 60 bucks to sit there for 2 hours when that same movie is going to be on demand in full HD with my surround sound system, now downstairs with my new big TV in my living room, for $5 in 2 months. So why on earth would I rush to the theater to see this thing? You know what I mean? And that's really been my mentality when it comes to movies. I've had no real desire to rush to the theater and see the new movies. When I see a movie, I see it a couple months later when it becomes on demand. And quite honestly, I do watch movies. And, you know, would anyone want to see me review, for example, some recent new movies. I just watched Rio 2. I'm trying to think new movies that recently that I watched. I just watched a Haunted House 2. I just saw, what was the other one? It was like a comedy that I saw. Oh, I just saw Muppets Most Wanted, and I actually tweeted my thoughts about Muppets Most Wanted when I saw it. So, would people want to see me do a review of a movie 2-3 months after the fact that it's been out and now it's on demand? Maybe, because I think there is a whole new generation of people like me who we're not the kind that want to go out to the movies and drop a ton of money. We're just going to wait for it to watch it perfectly fine on our own, whether it's your iPad, your home entertainment system, your console, whatever it is. Maybe it would make sense there could be a cool new series where I just talk a little bit about these movies, okay? So we'll think about it, and I think that is a potential idea. Previously, I didn't do it. I may do it. Now, keep in mind, though, if I do this, right, I'm not going to be putting video footage of the movie into it, nor audio. It would basically just be me and like I did with those other reviews, talking about a movie with the splash there. Maybe people would enjoy that. At the movies with DSP or something, you know, DSP at the movies, you know, and it would be movies that I watch on demand, though, and it would be later on, so I have to warn you guys, okay? So, we shall see. And maybe it won't just be that, but maybe it could also be, for example, oh, The Walking Dead Season 4, whatever, that's coming out soon. I have that on pre-order, and when that comes out and I finish watching it, I could review that. All right. I mean, fair enough. That's a great idea, and I think it's something that I could definitely add to my vlogging repertoire in the future, and it's something I'm going to keep in mind, especially now as I start to watch new series and movies. How about that? Sounds good? Okay. All right, next question. Hello, Phil. You may have heard that there's going to be a new Jurassic Park movie next year titled Jurassic World. What do you think of this, since the last 2 movies in the excuse me, in the franchise were not as successful as the first film, and that's by Bonk. Bonk. Okay. Well, let me put it this way. Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies of all time. Absolutely. I think that the drama, the plot, the acting, the special effects for the time, keep in mind it came around the mid-90s. It was actually the first movie to really utilize THX surround sound audio in theaters. And I recently rewatched Jurassic Park in 3D in my 3D TV downstairs, and I think it utilized the 3D very well, but at the same time, it's still not there. It's not perfect. Like, you can still see some scenes that it doesn't align properly, and it gives you a little headache after a while. I think 3D is a nice gimmick, but it's not something you have to have, and it's not anything that changes the state of movies or games or anything. So, I love Jurassic Park. The problem was that Michael Crichton, the author of Jurassic Park, he wrote 2 books. He wrote Jurassic Park and The Lost World. The Lost World was the direct sequel to Jurassic Park, okay? When The Lost World was released as a book, it didn't get the acclaim that Jurassic Park did. People kind of liked it, but they were like, there's some stuff in here that's far-fetched. In fact, there's a lot of real gruesome stuff. There's a lot of actual humans killing humans in The Lost World that really wasn't present in the original movie. It was more like humans versus humans with a dinosaur element rather than a lot of all dinosaurs. I remember it was like mercenaries and stuff killing each other. It was pretty brutal. And so when the movie came out, they couldn't have that, right? The movie was supposed to be about dinosaurs, the sequel to Jurassic Park, so they cut a ton of it out. They rewrote half the movie, and so when you watch the movie, half of it's kind of good and half of it's kind of, it sucks. And that is why that movie is kind of weird. Jurassic Park 3 is not based on anything Michael Crichton wrote. It was completely an original movie. And so for them to call it Jurassic Park 3 is kind of a slap in the face to Michael Crichton because he didn't have anything to do with it. He didn't make it. He didn't write it, nothing, right? And that movie sucked donkey dicks. It was terrible. It's one of the worst freaking movies. It was just so far-fetched, horrible, horrible, horrible. It was horrible. I hated it. And I'm ashamed that it was even part of the trilogy. It's funny when you have these trilogies of movies where the third movie's so bad. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was another one at that time where the third movie was so fucking atrociously bad. So, now all of a sudden, 20-some years later, oh, Jurassic World is coming. And I said, yeah, but Michael Crichton passed away. You know he didn't write it. So you know, again, are we in the same boat as Jurassic Park 3 where it's some new team and they're trying to take on the franchise and continue it? I don't know. I will reserve my judgment till I actually see it, but I am not hyped for it at all. To me, it would be like if they tried to bring back, and I said this for a while, if they tried to bring back Ghostbusters at this point. Like, I thought that was a good idea 4 or 5 years ago, but now that the Harold Ramis has passed away, Bill Murray says he wants nothing to do with it because he thinks it's a 2-movie standalone series. He doesn't think there should be a third one. The fact that there's rumors that they're in production and they're making a new one that has nothing to do with the original Ghostbusters, oh, fuck me. You know what I mean? They're going to reboot it and ruin it. Like everything today, they have to reboot these old ideas and ruin them because they have no fucking originality in their heads to think of anything cool. In the 1980s, we had so much originality. Just think about it. G.I. Joe, what the fuck, now I'm having a brain fart. Transformers, right? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We had these wild ideas that you would never think would translate to anything popular. They became hugely successful. We have no new stuff today, but we just reboot the same shit 4,000 times and expect that it's going to be as popular as it used to be. And in some cases it is. What the fuck? Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles got rebooted. The movies are horrible, and they're making tons of money worldwide because there's no originality. No one knows any better because there's nothing out there. It's ridiculous bullshit. I'm going to go on to the next question before I get pissed off. Okay, this one is from Trin... Oh, no. I never pronounce this guy's name right, and he always gives me shit for it. Tringetto? Fuck. Well, whatever your name is, I'm going to say Tringetto. Probably fucked that up. Alright, he says, hey Phil, after watching your other vlogs, I noticed that you like to read books during your spare time, such as Game of Thrones. As a reader, what makes a good book to you? What makes you stop reading a book? The reason I'm asking these questions is because I'm actually creating my first novel, specifically science fiction. I think hearing what a reader is looking forward to will help improve my writing. Thanks for reading and keep up the good work. There's a couple techniques, writing techniques, that I've noticed in books recently that I actually like. The first is having a cast of characters that aren't necessarily all together, and therefore, as the book goes splits, as the book progresses, the cast splits, and so you may have one chapter with this guy, one chapter with a guy on another country, and one chapter with a guy over here, and you can kind of alternate between the three. And I think that actually keeps it fresh and interesting, and also keeps you reading because you want to know what's going to happen, but you know you have to get through 2 more chapters to get back to that guy or girl. You know what I mean? I'm just talking about a character. Number 2, I would actually say, actually keeping a cast of characters to a core cast. And what I mean by that is, even though I like having different perspectives and different characters and seeing from different stories that are all kind of going on parallel, when you have 17 stories going on parallel, now it's too much for me. Like, I don't want to keep... Gee, 4 hours ago, I read a chapter about a guy, you know, now I gotta remember what the fuck happened when 14 other chapters were between the last time I saw him. I don't remember, right? Especially because a lot of people don't just sit there and read a book cover to cover. You read a little bit a day or when you have some free time. It's too much to keep up with, and that's actually what's happened to me with Game of Thrones. The last book that George R.R. Martin put out, Dance with Dragons, I stopped reading it. I read it about halfway, and at that point, I said, I don't want to read this anymore. Because he now literally has about 17 characters who he's all rotating between. You never know what chapter is going to be who. You don't know what's going to, what's going to be interesting. Some chapters are boring as fucking mud, and then the next chapter is great. But I really have a core group of characters that I like, and because there's so many other characters, it's like I got to put up with 7 filler chapters of garbage of characters I don't care about to get back to the person I care about, and that's where you have to be careful with book writing and anything kind of story, is that it's too overcomplicated. He fucked up his books bad with the last one, because what he did, I don't know how many of you know this, he really wrote 4 or 5 books, but the last book was like 3,000 pages long. I kid you not. He wrote a book that was 3,000 pages long, and when the editors got it, they're like, are you out of your fucking mind? We can't publish a 3,000 page book, you idiot. Like, what is this, amateur night? You have to fix that. So he ended up taking that book and cutting it into 2 or 3 separate books, but when he did that, he completely ruined the timeline, and so everything, it doesn't make sense. You're reading a book, you finish it, you read the next book, the book's taking place before the last book, but some events are after it, and you're like, what's going on? So whatever you do, don't make it super overcomplicated, because when you do, now you're fucked yourself. And now he felt he had to write a 3,000 page book, he fucked it up, and now he splits it up, and the books are actually horrible. I'll be honest, that last book, Dances with Dragons, is fucking terrible. You can't keep heads or tails of what's going on. There's characters who haven't been around for 2 books, and they're coming back, and what the fuck is this? I don't get it. And I completely lost interest after that. I literally was like, I just don't want to read this anymore. And so now I'm watching the TV show, and when the show comes out, I'll watch it, and I'll buy the Blu-rays of it, but I'm not going to read the books anymore. I just have no interest. I don't even care. It's been 100 years since he put out Dance with Dragons, and he hasn't even put out the next one yet. I get the feeling he doesn't know what he's going to do. Okay. Next question here. Okay, so this one actually ties in with an earlier question, so this is the perfect time to talk about this one. Okay. He says, hey, Phil, my question has to do with Nintendo changing the way their Platinum and Gold status on Club Nintendo works by making prizes all digital. Personally, I feel that it is an odd decision, as most people who spend large amounts of money to reach the Platinum and Gold status most likely already have the games that Nintendo is offering as a free digital download, or at least the ones that they're interested in. I feel like at the very least, Nintendo could have let people know that the rewards would be changing over to all digital so that we knew whether or not we wanted to spend the money to achieve the Platinum Gold status in the first place. Although the quality of the physical prizes has been decreasing in the past years, it was still nice knowing that you got something exclusive that you could only get from Club Nintendo, or, of course, eBay if you happen to be a millionaire and you're bidding on these things that are going for so much money. However, with that being said, an all-digital catalog would be interesting if, at the very least, many more games, including their newer games, were offered to avoid people from owning all of the games that they want. All right, what are your thoughts on this? And this is from Shelled Junk. So for those of you, excuse me, for those of you who don't know, I talked about this, I believe, in a vlog and or I think it was a pre-stream at one point, but I never really elaborated on it. I am a member of Club Nintendo, and the way the Club Nintendo works is there's a point system where for every Nintendo game that you buy, inside there's a card or a piece of paper with a code on it. If you enter these codes on the Club Nintendo website, you get points, and as you accumulate these points, you can redeem them for cool free items, such as, for example, a collectible bookmark, collectible stickers, posters, or digital downloads. They've actually been offering in recent years. Oh, get a digital game digitally on your Nintendo 3DS, get one for your 2DS, get one on your Wii U, right? Now, if you accumulate a high number of points during 1 year's time, you qualify for what's called gold or platinum status. Now, keep in mind, to get that many points, you got to spend hundreds of dollars during the course of the year. It's not like you buy 2 games and you reach it. We're talking like 10, 12, 14 games. Now you finally reach that status, okay? So that being said, once you reach that status, you will automatically qualify for some kind of swag. Now, in previous years, it was some kind of cool collectible. John Rambo actually had a red Mario hat that looks like an actual life-size hat that you would wear and you would look like Mario, okay? I personally have a few different ones. One of the ones that's the most notable was this cool collectible pin set that was characters from Super Mario Bros. 1, all 8-bit pins, this cool packaging and everything. It's a really nice collectible. And as Shell Junk has said, these collectibles traditionally, because they're so rare, so few, a few hundred, few thousand people qualify for those categories for Nintendo, that these things have sold for hundreds of dollars on eBay. They're that incredibly rare. And so that's kind of a cool thing, Nintendo. Wow, for being a huge Nintendo fan, we're going to give you a unique piece of collectible, and you can either keep it or sell it for a ton of money on eBay. That's our way of giving back to you, the consumer. This year, out of nowhere, Nintendo didn't announce it, didn't tell anyone they were doing this. They completely did away with that program, and now it's just, you just get a couple games digitally. That's it. Now, some people might say, well, that's great. It's a game. You're a gamer. What's the problem with that? So for you, you might say, okay, that's not a big deal. The problem is a lot of the games that they offered are games that you probably already bought if you're a Nintendo fan, right? I was actually disappointed because a couple months back when I bought Mario Kart 8, they actually offered me 3 games digitally. They said, you could get one of 3 games digitally for buying Mario Kart 8. And guess what? I already played all the 3 games, so they're completely worthless. So what am I going to do? I re-download the same fucking game twice? You know what I mean? So Nintendo is screwing up again. For whatever reason, they've discontinued their swag system. No more cool collectibles. Now it's just digital downloads. And I was disappointed because the selection was pretty poor, especially the fact that I did this year qualify for the platinum level. The selections were pretty bad. They were like games I wouldn't want to play, and like a few Nintendo games emulated on my 3DS. Why would I want to play, you know, a regular 8-bit Nintendo game on my 3DS? It just didn't even make sense. So I ended up getting Game & Wario, which is a little mini game puzzles and little mini motion control stuff that I may end up doing stuff with Leanna at some point. But that's my platinum reward. You know what I mean? Do I feel like I'm rewarded for being a loyal consumer when I'm just given a little game that pretty much I wouldn't have played if I didn't get it for free? No, I would have not had a nice collectible. And it's disheartening, and it's something that Nintendo was known for doing all throughout the 2000s. And now the fact that it's going away, more than likely due to budget cuts because they can't sell any fucking games or reuse, it's a problem. So, you know, it's disheartening. It's something that was cool that Nintendo was doing for the customer that's gone now. And yeah, I do feel that Nintendo should have said, by the way, for long-time members who have hit platinum or gold level multiple times, this year we're not doing it anymore just so you don't expect it, right? So it is what it is, and that's just kind of information for you guys so you know that if you are doing the Club Nintendo thing, they don't do it like that anymore, okay? All right. Next question. Hello, Phil. Longtime fan, but first-time thekingofhate.com user. Anyway, my question is, do your older videos get a lot of views? And if so, is it enough that you would take a long break from YouTubing and still be financially secure? Not that I want you to take a break from YouTube because I love the content that you put out, but I've just always been curious about that, considering you have such a massive amount of videos. Congrats on the move and for all the awesome content that you put out, and that is from Genderbender 9000. I actually remember his avatar was of poison, so gee, I wonder what he was alluding to there. Okay. Excuse me. So, my old video, let's talk turkey, because I've been making videos for quite a long time at this point. I started in 2008. We're now into the second half of 2014, so you're talking, you know, 6 years of consistently putting out video content for you guys. I have made videos for my original YouTube channel, Darkside Phil. Then I had a vlogging channel called The King of Hate Vlogs. In the meantime, I created separate channels for playthroughs of Final Fantasy XIII as well as Red Dead Redemption because I was afraid I was going to get copyright strikes against my Darkside Phil channel for doing those playthroughs. Over time, things evolved, and I split off my channel. It was no longer Darkside Phil. It became DSP Gaming for standard game playthroughs and DSP Street Fighter for Street Fighter videos, and that lasted about 1.5 to 2 years, okay? Then, unfortunately, we had some problems with Machinima. Machinima lost a lot of money, and they couldn't afford to pay everyone what they were paying them, and my DSP Street Fighter channel went away because they couldn't basically partner it anymore. So all my content went back to DSP Gaming. And then, at that point, I created a vlogs-only channel, which is called The King of Hate Vlogs, where you may be watching this video right now, where I do all of my vlogging content, so that way it doesn't overload my DSP Gaming channel and it doesn't get lost in the shuffle, okay? So, there's tons of places where you can find my content on YouTube right now, and now, of course, I have my Twitch TV streaming channel, Darkside Phil, as well. So you may be saying to yourself, gee, I wonder, what kind of views traditionally do Phil's videos get on the older stuff? So we're talking a few different places. First of all, if you want to talk about the old channels like Red Dead DSP, Final Fantasy XIII, those channels get like no views anymore. Those channels, I don't talk about them anymore. They're not referenced anywhere. I don't even have them in my related channels anymore on YouTube. No one even really knows about them unless they're a longtime fan and viewer. So no one even knows that I ever played Red Dead Redemption or anything like that, which I know is quite crazy because I think it was one of my best playthroughs of all time. Now, the Darkside Phil channel, on the flip side of that, a lot of people know about because that was my classic channel where I got my start. Some of my biggest playthroughs, like Heavy Rain, were on that channel, and all those original content from the fall of 2008 through the mid-2010 when I decided to shut it down due to false copyright bullshit and start over. So, you may say to yourself, gee, does that channel still get views? What kind of views does it get? Well, I haven't looked at it in a long time. The last time I really looked at it, I believe was actually back in, I'm trying to think, I think it was early 2013 or late 2012. At one point, Machinima basically had contacted me and said, Phil, you know, you've got your DSP Gaming channel partnered, you've got this DSP Street Fighter partnered, but what about your original channel? I'm sure people will go back to watch that content. And at that point, I said, well, I don't think it makes sense because I wouldn't, that was an era before I monetized anything, before I made a dime doing this, but when it was more my hobby rather than me taking it more seriously and trying to, you know, play through games more quickly and cover a lot more content. And I think I kind of, even though that's kind of like the golden era, the beginning, where I was super white-hot popular, I'd like to keep it that way. Let's keep it separated. And, I mean, let's be honest, everyone. It would literally take me no effort to get that channel partnered. I could get it partnered like this, and immediately anything that people watch on there, I would make money. Okay? But I made the decision, the executive decision. I told Machinima, no, I don't want to monetize that channel. I'm going to leave it as is, and that's it. And I have, and that's pretty much been my hands-off approach. And so every once in a while, I've gone back there. At one point, like I said, about a couple years ago, I think it was making anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 views a day, if not a little bit more. And so when you really think about that, you're like, well, if I monetize that, that could be a good, you know, probably 20 bucks, 30 bucks a day, depending. Probably a little less than that now. I'm actually thinking the old ratios from back in the day when everything made a ton of money, and now the ads make no money anymore. But, you know, a few bucks in the pocket a day for nothing when you really think about it, because that content's out there already. It's created. It's done, right? And, you know, that could have been just a little bit of a supplemental side income that I could have had during that period of time. But I never did it. I never went and I never partnered it. And now we're talking 2014, and I hate to say this, everyone. I don't know how many of you have gone back to check out the original Darkside Phil channel, but it's pretty much in shambles. And the reason that I say that is because of the great YouTube purge of December 2013, when some asshole who works at Google said, oh, I wrote an algorithm that's going to catch all the copyrighted content, so here we go. And they flipped the fucking switch. Anything that had music in it got flagged, and the audio's fucked up. It's too low, or it's deleted, or it's muted. And people actually over the past several months have contacted me and said, Phil, did you even ever go back there? Because your channel is destroyed. All that original content, tons of the stuff is ruined, including some of your biggest playthroughs ever, all destroyed by the stupid YouTube algorithm. So, that's unfortunate. okay, that happened. And so at this point, really, would I even look to go monetize a bunch of videos that YouTube probably already flagged for copyright and muted or whatever? No, I would. Now, to get to the core of the question, Genderbender was really saying, if I were not to work for an extended period of time, would I be able to support myself on the money that I make? Now, there's a couple factors involved here. Number one, are you talking cold turkey making no videos at all? Or do you mean doing other content? Because here's a perfect example. A couple months ago, as you guys know, I moved to the state of Washington. And when I did that, for 2 weeks, I didn't have my equipment. So I couldn't vlog, I couldn't game, I couldn't do anything. But I used my camcorder to record stuff that was going on, and when the internet did get installed, daily I was uploading vlogs, and that was really the content that I was uploading for you guys. And I just talked about this recently in a pre-stream, but I'll go ahead and talk about it officially here. I want to say super duper thank you guys very much. And the reason that I'm saying that is because during that 2-week time period when I was not able to make any new gameplay videos, you guys did continue to watch the stuff that you hadn't watched, and you watched the hell out of my moving vlogs, because I got my payment last week for that month of June, when for a week, 2 weeks I wasn't streaming, and the payment was actually better than the month before. So I actually did better in the month of June than I did in the month of May, even though I didn't do gameplay for a week and a half that month. So what that tells me is, as long as I'm putting out some kind of content, I'm going to be able to be sufficient and to support myself, all right? I very much doubt that I would be able to go an extended period of time, cold turkey, no vlogs, no gameplay videos, and survive. And here's why I say that. The reason I say that is because this entity, what I'm doing here, streaming, recording, vlogging, let's playing, doing video game footage and playthroughs, doing reviews, doing all this kind of stuff. It's a very volatile thing because it's new. No one, before YouTube, no one could do this, right? You couldn't share your experiences with people like this worldwide. It was only your local people who you knew in person, right? No one could broadcast yourself across the entire internet and everyone could see you. You need to have financial backing to get yourself on TV or something, right? So, this is a volatile industry. And the bottom line is this. I really do feel that if I were to go away for a month and then try to come back, that people will have moved on. People will say, well, Phil wasn't there for this big release. Phil wasn't there for this thing in the industry that to talk about. Phil wasn't there for this and this and this. And therefore, because of all that, we went on and we watched other stuff. And you know what? Well, I forgot about Phil. And that's the bottom line. I think it was actually a video from Boogie, Boogie is another YouTuber. And he had said in a video, he says, you guys don't seem to understand that how volatile of an industry this is, that there's so many people who want to jump in because they think it's easy money, that there's insane amounts of competition. If you're not going to watch me play that popular game, you'll watch someone else play it. If you don't hear me talk about that big thing in the gaming media that just happened, you'll hear someone else's opinion on it. And the fact is that if I'm not here consistently, you'll forget about me. Now, I have been here consistently for 6 years. Like, I've never really, when you think about it, have I ever taken an extended break, an extended vacation, an extended period of time where you haven't seen me for a long time? No. Even when I'm on vacation, I'm vlogging. Even when I'm here moving to Washington, I covered everything. Because I know that day when I'm gone for a long period of time is when people's interest, whoop, attention span right out the door, and they're on to something else. Now, that's already happened to some extent, and I've been here for 6 years. So imagine if I had been gone for 2 months because something happened, right? And, you know, you take a lot of stuff that happens, and you wonder, you know, gee, Phil, why does Phil play so many games? Why is Phil always constantly putting out this content if it's not the most popular? This summer, the months of July and August, have been some of my lowest viewership ever. And the reason, quite honestly, is a combination of, number one, there were no fucking new releases whatsoever, and people love to watch me play the new releases. There was nothing out. And number two, because I took time off in June to move. And there was 2 weeks where there were no video content of gaming, and people said, well, I'm going to go on and watch other people, and they got hooked on other people. There will be a surge of people coming back for this hardcore gaming season, so I'm not worried. Like I said, this is one of the busiest hardcore gaming seasons I've ever seen since I've done this. But that being said, I need that surge to come back so that I can support myself. If I were to say I'm taking 2 months off in September and October, and I tried to come back in November and even play some of those games, that's it. A lot of people will have moved on and went to watch that stuff elsewhere. So for me, for my business, how volatile it is, will I get residual income from older videos if I just stop doing this? Absolutely. And one day, I fully expect that one day I'm going to have to move on, whether it's I open a different kind of business or I go into something else. And I will probably leave all this stuff out on the internet. It'll probably still have ads on it. And I'll have a little bit of residual income that'll probably come in for the rest of my life. And eventually, after a year or two, shoot down as no one cares who Darkside Phil is anymore. But it's going to be there. But in no way is just the residuals going to be enough to pay off. I mean, just think, a new house and all this. Now I own 2 homes. No. And it's kind of funny. And the reason I say it's kind of funny, because this last thing, I'll end answering this question here, and then we'll take a break. It's kind of funny because the Nostalgia Critic, who was someone who I followed, his name's Doug Walker. Of course, he has a team of people, thatguywiththeglasses.com. I know I'm giving him a plug now, and I don't know why, because I haven't watched his stuff in years, and in particular, I've heard that he doesn't really like me that much. That's nice. But anyway, Doug Walker is known as the Nostalgia Critic, and he had a body of work on Blip TV, which is a competitor of YouTube. That body of work consistently gets him a ton of money. When he announced that he was going to stop doing the Nostalgia Critic, his views tanked. Not only did people stop watching his new content, they stopped watching his old content. His views went into the shitter so badly that after only a couple months, he had to bring back the Nostalgia Critic because that was the thing that people wanted to see. So again, if I were to just stop doing gameplay for a few months, people would go nuts. They'd probably say, oh, how dare Phil not make new content for us? And probably it would cause a negative wave that would actually drive down views on the old stuff as well. So, all right. That's it. I think that answered the question sufficiently. Let's take a short break. And then when we come back, we'll answer the rest. We've actually got, I think, about maybe 12 or so questions left. And I'm going to start moving a little bit more quickly with the answers. So let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll finish it up with the rest of the forum and then the Twitter questions. All right? I'll be right back, everybody.